Hello, Naturalist-Artist Laurel Sundberg. We're going to take a look at a really cool native bee house for our episode, what are we on? 3 of A Bee or Not a Bee. This one will be all about mason bees. Right here we have a commercial mason bee house. Alright, here we go. See if I can get my phone shadow out of the way here, but let's take a look at these. You look in each of these tunnels, this is a good one, pretty good angle. Each of these you can see has a little mud section packed into it. That is from the adult female mason bees creating their nest tunnels in here. Super cool. These tunnels, the mud came all the way out to the edge of the tube, and as it's dried out over the summer, it's contracted back, so it's shrunk back a little bit. But each of these tubes has between 4 and 6 baby bees that are getting ready to pupate through the winter in here, and they will emerge next spring when the temperatures are close to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to zoom in on one of these tunnels that has been opened up by a predator. In here you'll see an iridescent section. That is the abdomen of an adult bee that's no longer alive. It won't emerge in the spring anymore, but you could visualize behind this mud cover the adults hang out. They live off of their fat reserves, and then they emerge in the springtime. All right, let's take a look at one of these nest boxes. This is another manufactured one that has wooden straws in it with a rough interior. Here it is up closer. And when I checked this one out, I noticed there's about a half dozen tunnels that have been filled in, even though this was sitting in my garage. I didn't even have it out in my yard. These mason bees found their way in, were able to nest, which is super cool. I will probably put this one out for the winter so that the bees that are in here have the correct temperature. That keeps them from emerging too early, and then they'll come out when the temperature is just right in the springtime. So in here, after the female goes in and builds this tunnel, she creates a little pollen ball that is the food for the larvae. The larvae feed on that as they get bigger. That's about 10 to 14 days, and they go through several molts called instars. And when they're at their largest, then they get ready to pupate. The pupation is pupation even a word? I don't know. I guess it is today, so let's just go with it. Pretty short. I'm not sure exactly how many days it is. I'm sure it depends on the season. And then they change into an adult, and they actually stay in the tunnel as an adult over the winter. And then in the springtime, when the temperature is right around 60 degrees, that's when these guys will emerge. Super cool and really fun to watch. Here are 2 bees. Both mason bees, they are mating. We should get them a room. The male has the much longer antenna and is smaller. The female's a bit bigger. They mated right after the females emerged. So this was the very first day I noticed them, and they were out pollinating some serviceberry in my backyard. All right, I wanted to pop out to the garden to show you some of the areas where you might find mason bees nesting in nature. So I'm going to show you a plant that you can use the stem of. This one is aster right here. You can see it. This one hasn't flowered yet, and then we've got some aster right up here. This one has a bee visiting it, but the stems on these are hollow, so if you bundle them together, you can tie them up just with twine, hang them out, and if you hollow out the inside, the mason bees will use those as a nesting area. Here's our backyard serviceberry, where I first noticed these guys. I was able to walk right up to the nest tunnels and figure out what kind of bee we had visiting. I was super excited to find these in my yard, and with a few changes to your habitat, you might find these as well. And maybe at the end of the growing season or during the summer, you also might get some awesome fruit to harvest. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of A Bee or Not a Bee, all about mason bees. If you have questions, feel free to leave those in the comments. I will try to get those answered for you. And if you enjoyed this video, you can also subscribe to Laurel Sundberg, Naturalist Artist, if you would like to see more of this in your feed. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.